Hello and welcome to Optional Rule. My name is Scott. I am going to be your game master during this prep and D&D discussion live stream today. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. I run a weekly show talking about all things Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop role-playing games of all kinds. I play all kinds of games, although I'm running a D&D 5th edition game right now. I work through my session prep, do my ideation, talk about game design principles and all those sorts of things in this show. I hope you get something out of it, and I hope you'll join in the conversation that happens live every week at Saturday at noon Eastern Time. It happens both on Twitch and YouTube, so if you're coming in from one of those locations, go ahead and drop a wave in chat, say hello. I'd love to hear from you. or drop me a line on any of the social medias. You can find me out on Twitter, on Pinterest, on Instagram, all of the social media. I try to be active on. Mostly I talk on my blog and on Twitter as well. Actually, my blog is right up and happens to be up in front of the window right now. I'm going to talk about a few articles that came out on that this week that I published. Follow that blog for additional D&D adventures that I publish, or D&D advice. It's a little bit more complex than what I can put on Twitter, but I'm mostly active on Twitter. So I hope you'll find something useful there. And if you do, please let me know down on the tavern wall in the comments section on YouTube or on Twitch or on Twitter, or any place you find this stuff. Go ahead and let me know what you think. If you think there'd be something useful, especially if you have a question or something to add, please let me know what that is. So what am I going to do today? It's a good question. I am going to talk a little bit about my Rime of the Frostmaiden campaign. I have a session coming up where I have a nice transition. I have we're ending our time in the 10 towns. There's been a series of adventures. The way the module itself is designed, and I'm playing a very heavily modified version of this module. I'm making it my own, just like every DM does. But I'm using Foundry Virtual Tabletop. Where we have is the players are over on the Icewind Dale map here, and they have just completed a series of adventures where they are at a place called Mammoth Falls, which is a place I created, and they've come from East Haven, and it's a nice breather. They're about to hit, what are they, third level? They're about to hit fourth level, which caps off the 10 towns adventure, and they begin from here to go out and do adventures in the greater Icewind Dale area. So I need to come up with a great capstone for that fourth level transition where they can feel like they've accomplished something important. So I'll talk about that in a second, but I just mentioned I'm at Mammoth Falls, which is a location I created. I'm going to put this up here and I'll talk about it a little bit more in a second, but it's a great it's a place for their patron to help support them. It's a place for them to rest, scribe spells, and do things like that. I'll get into these photos in a second because I love this creation, but I do want to say first, over on the blog, the reason to follow it is I've begun posting my custom mix of Rime of the Frostmaiden over on this blog. You can find it at optionalrule.com. I finally got a theme I can stand to look at. But I'm still working on the arrangement. I'm mostly trying to post content. But if you look over on the tags, you can look at Remix or Rime of the Frostmaiden. If you click on that, you'll get some of the remixes I posted in the last week and a half. That's I'm delaying posting them because I don't want to spoil anything for my players. But there's a Heart of Winter supernatural region, which is inspired by the content that came out in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I'll talk a little bit about that today for the session prep. I posted my sort of base level remix of the additional factions and sort of threat levels and things that I've done in the far northern 10 towns. I remixed the lake monster encounter, if you've ever read the module, so that it adds a little bit more story depth and just a bunch of stuff, provide some NPCs. Anyway, if you're running a Rime of the Frostmaiden campaign, really, or any D&D campaign, hopefully you'll find some of this material useful, and it'll give you some context that you can use in your game. I'm not looking for fans so much as I am friends to talk about D&D with. So I hope you'll do that. Hi, welcome to the chat. Go ahead and post a hello down in the chat. I always love to talk with people. If you have any questions, please let me know. You're welcome to lurk as well. I'm going to be talking a little bit about D&D, some of the things I put together, how I'm including them in my campaign, and how I'm going to bring it forward. So let's get into some session prep, okay? I'm going to leave this page up because I'm going to get back to that in a second. Matter of fact, I'll load it now so you don't have to stick loading it. But what I have is, so the players have, let me close this for a second. The players are at an inflection point. They have gone from East Haven here through an encounter called the Cauldron Caves. Again, I heavily remixed that, but I'll post that later, maybe next week or so, to my blog. But the crux of it is the 10 towns are starving. They're in a locked in a perpetual winter for the last and night, the long cold night they call it, for about 2 years now. So they're starving. The area is desperate. So the players have been unraveling this sort of conspiracy to undermine a political conspiracy to undermine the 10 towns from a faction I created called the Charterland Syndicate. They have been hooking up with other people to sort of aggregate them into a way that they might be able to provide additional support. And the culmination of that is they've encountered a cauldron of plenty that can feed some of the people in the 10 towns. And they found this something I created called the Prism of Saloon. And they're back at some place called Mammoth Falls, which is where their patron is here. At least I think that's where they're starting. I have to actually ask them. One of the things I struggle with as the DM is we go through these adventures. We run about a 3-hour session, and I have to say that it's hard because I have some players that show up late, so we don't often get started until about 20 minutes after, and I find 2.5 hours difficult to fit an encounter or two in and then some lore. My preference is to show players rather than tell them. I'm harping on that. You'll see that in Twitter, and that's my preference. But in reality, I often get to the end of a session and I have like 10 minutes left. I need to end on time. And yeah, the players we run through our adventures and I have to get some information out them to set them up for the next session. So I'm prone to sometimes a little bit of lore dump, and I don't like that about my session. But that's where I'm at. And that's essentially what I do. Sometimes when I'm stuck for time. So we're going to blow through a week or two. The players are back at this thing called Mammoth Falls. And what that is since my party does not have a lot of healing, they have a paladin. That's the only real person who can do any kind of healing in the game. I wanted to provide them with somebody who can give them a little bit of breathing space so they didn't feel always under the gun for healing. So they've got an alchemist, artificer alchemist. It's an old Luxodons, which is a elephantine race that came out of Theranos, and they are sitting up at this sort of complex that they have developed over a couple of decades. They used to be a traveling companion of one of the player characters' grandparents who was an adventurer. So I tied it to their background. Anyway, they've got this old complex that they're running with all these water wheels, and I love this picture that I discovered, and hopefully you can see it. I just found that out on the internet. I'm using this for this location. So there's all these falls that come tumbling down, and they run an alchemy shop, and they below ground. And that's where I grabbed these photos from just online. They have all of these pools, and they have these sort of these heated pools where they breed knucklehead trout. And the Prism of Saloon, what that does is it infuses this magical cavern and all of these pools with a growth spurt for the magical trout. So you can basically stock the lakes again and create weeks worth of food just in a few days. So that's the MacGuffin that the players have gotten back. And what the through line as a game master I want out of this is levels 1 to 4 are focused in the module on the 10 towns themselves. And that's where I've kept the players. They've been bouncing around back and forth between the towns, discovering political intrigue that I've added. They've discovered some of the subplots. They've discovered the towns themselves, but they've mostly been sticking to the towns because that's where the safety is of level 1 to 4. Once we go above level 4, I want to zoom out, and they're going to start dealing with regional threats. Now, 4 is a great level to do that because 5 is really tier 2, right? But 4 is the cap end of it. They'll be struggling, and they'll feel that transition from 4 to 5 as they make it. But they'll start dealing with frost giant tribes in the area. They'll start dealing with the greater threat of Warreal, who's locked this area in perpetual winter. So what I want to do is I want to close out the plot line of this political intrigue and danger to the towns and introduce the plot line of this greater regional threat in this last set of encounters. And that's probably going to run 2 sessions or so. So that's where I'm at. And what they're going to do is it's all culminated at Cher Dinaval. Again, this is all added. So there are spoilers for Rime and the Frostmaiden in here, but you're going to get a mixed bag. About 60 to 70% of this is content I've created, but it's based on core module content. So it might spoil some of it. If you don't want spoilers for Rime and the Frostmaiden, this is not the stream for you. If you're one of my players, go away, watch this weeks later. All that material should be revealed by then. But yeah, so it's culminated. They've bounced back and forth between a number of towns, uncovering people who worshipped Warreal, trying to grab power, to seize control of the 10 towns. They have a conspiracy with the Durgar dwarves to undermine the 10 towns. The Duragar dwarves, what they want out of it is they are looking for Charlatan, and it's a magical crystal in the area that fuels their war machine against a rival kingdom to the south. I've cut this whole plot line of the Charlatan dragon because I did a dragon attack on towns in my last campaign. I don't want to do another one here. So the setup here is can they break the conspiracy of the Charlatan Syndicate, dealing with the dwarves, and weaken them in a way that frees the town up to eat and gives them a little space to survive while they figure out the regional threat. So the last remaining piece is to go. They've just found out in the last town that up at Sher Dinaval, there's a member of the Arcane Brotherhood held up there. They have these magical artifacts that they've been gathering in the area, and the players don't really quite know why. So what the actual plot here is, the Arcane Brotherhood has taken over, has formed an alliance with a devil prince. They've got some cultists of this devil aggregated up at a castle here, and they have opened a pathway to the Underdark that allows them to bring in supplies. So all of these, the conspiracy is the Charlatan Syndicate cannot get elected to the Speakers Council. They've been trying for a number of years. One member in Targos has done that, but they can't get enough power. So they're trying to seize power by taking this opportunity with the town starving. They're bringing in additional supplies through the Underdark with their alliance with the Duragar. And at the same time, they're helping the Duragar ambush the supply lines that the legitimate council has set up through 10 Towns Pass, which that was an adventure back in the very first session. The players came into town this way. I set up an ambush with a Duragar, and the whole thing has come out. So the supply lines, legitimate supply lines, are shut down. The bad guys are basically have their own set of supply lines that they're using to undermine the council and seize power. The players, what they want to do is shut down the evil supply line. Now, I wanted to set up this plot line with Mammoth Falls because I didn't want to make them have to make a choice between starving people to death and doing good, or feeding them and doing bad. So they've got their own supply line at Mammoth Falls. They've got a Cauldron of Plenty over at East Haven, and they have the caravan, the supply lines that they've gotten coming through the 10 Towns Pass. They've secured Mammoth Falls, they've secured the Cauldron of Plenty. Now, if they can just open up the 10 Towns Pass, the towns will have enough breathing space that they can get by, and they can shut down the Duragar supply line. So they need to go here to Sher Dinaval, find out what's happening. Now, all the players know at this point is that that there's an Arcane Brotherhood member held up there, that they're looking for these artifacts of their own, and that there's something going on there they should investigate. They don't have any more information. Arriving in Sher Dinaval itself, they're going to discover the town is sort of on its own. It's not living up to its obligation. It's cut off from the other towns. The first indicator they're going to have is I'm going to use something called the Heart of Winter Supernatural region, which I created, and it's on my blog, so you can use it yourself in your campaign, or you can just do really whatever you want. So here, the Heart of Winter Supernatural region. So I should call it region, not regions. I'm bad at spelling. You'll notice that if you read my blog. So anyway, what the supernatural regions were introduced in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. There are these areas that cause these strange magical effects that you roll randomly for if some condition that you set down occurs. Now, they have lots of examples of poisonous zones and infestation zones and wild magic zones and all of this. So I wanted to create one that was Arctic themed for this area. And one of the back plots I set down, if you go, and again, if you go to my blog, if you go to the 10 Towns, at the bottom of all these, there's all the other remixes. So the far north in 10 Towns, I'll open that in another tab. Down in the Sacrifices to Oriel section, the 10 Towns sacrifice something every month at the new moon to placate Oriel. In the module, I think they don't really tell you why, they just do it. And 3 of the towns are sacrificing human lives. So that's pretty weird. There's the caravan that supplies and gets ambushed. There's Charlatan Syndicate. So you'll find a write-up for all of these things. The Duragar conspiracy, getting around the 10 Towns. But sacrifices to Oriel. I came up with with a deeper reason for why these towns are doing it, right? Rather than just randomly hoping it'll appease the Scottish. Instead, what I was saying is that when this started, a Heart of Winter supernatural regions would appear randomly around or in the towns and causes chaos here. And they discovered if the towns made different types of sacrifices, it would happen every new moon, by the way, for a day or two and then go away. And it was costing lives. So they discovered if they could make these sacrifices, they would prevent these zones from popping up. And different towns have different sacrifices, but the biggest ones all have to sacrifice a human life. I'm not going to get into it, but I did. Each town has a different way they approach that. In my write up, they mostly approach it somberly, except for Targos, which is in control of a member of the Charterland Syndicate, and that's a big corrupt thing that they're running. So back to that itself. So down in Shir Dinaval, since the speaker hasn't shown up in a few months to their council, they're actually imprisoned in the castle itself. The players will find that out. But because they're not honoring their sacrifice, these manifest zones have begun. So what are they? So basically, there's a couple conditions that will trigger a roll on this random table. I'm not going to go over each option here, but I tried to set down, these are thematic, so I came up with it myself, but these are reflective of the types of design that they had in Tasha. So definitely check that book out. It's worth a lot. It creates a lot of fun. So here I said, if you spend any more than 1 hour resting, I might need to revisit that because I mean, people can't not rest in the town, right? So I might need to revisit that for this individual thing. So I probably won't do that. But anytime a creature is brought to 0 hit points, anytime a spell is cast that does thunder, cold, or fire damage, it's basically invoking sort of the legacy of this zone. Anytime an open flame is produced naturally or by spell, I might need to revisit that too, because we don't want just fire setting things off. But so I might create a mix for this. Or anytime this creature is paralyzed, I wanted to create this sense that anytime a something happens that's counter to, either feeds in to this idea of cold and paralysis, or anytime something happens that is against it, it triggers one of these. And these can be all kinds of things, like a minor effect, like all flames, magical or natural, are extinguished. It might be something like people suddenly gain the ability to cast a frostbite cantrip. It might be ice methods appear. It might be someone is randomly transformed into a yeti. It might be all of these different things. It's really, some of it are very dangerous. So I'm going to introduce this in this last session because players have heard about this happening in the region, but they're going to, for the first time, they're going to see it happening in front of them, and that's going to be way more powerful and set the stage for what's happening. Now, the reason lore-wise that this is happening, again, this is my creation, and this is in the Far North write-up. Oriel, I think in the module, Oriel is just trying to freeze the whole area to create some kind of perfect museum for her, which is fair enough. I wanted a little bit more reason to it. And give to specifically feed into a player's backstory. And that's a technique that I like to use. A player comes to me with backstory. I want to honor that. If a player says, I'm interested in X, I mean, why wouldn't I do that as the game master? So I'm always seeking to create some plot or some thread within a narrative that plugs into what that character's interest is. So this character is interested in magical phenomena. They want to write magical academic papers. They want to find unique new MacGuffins. So this is the way to feed that player's interest in what's happening. So what Oriel is doing is she's trying to create a conjunction of the planes. Again, if you look over here, somewhere here, I've got a write-up of, oh no, I don't. I have it in my session notes. So down in my session notes somewhere, I have something about the conjunction to the severes and Oriel, that basically all of the different planes that have either a death zone or a frozen zone. This is the conjunction of all that. And that's what she's trying to create here, a little pocket dimension of her own. But that information has not come out. And this is where the players will discover that. There's a member of the Arcane Brotherhood. They are held up in this keep right here. The people of the town are sort of they haven't seen their speaker in a while. No one at this keep will talk to them. They're sort of backwards people. They're backwater people. So they're kind of cut off. And the snow here has been a little bit more, um, a little bit more intense. That my hesitation was, I think I just came up with a secret. So one of the ways I do prep is I write down a strong start. I write down potential scenes and events. I write down secrets and clues for things that might be going on. And that's what I'm looking to do here. So if you have an idea for any of this as I'm typing it, please go ahead and drop it down on chat. If you have a suggestion for something later, please go ahead and drop it down on the tavern wall as well. Sorry, I think I might have a question. So yeah, I might include it in my game. So, and this is where it said Orreal is trying to turn Icewind Dale into a conjunction zone. A few places closer to overlap, a few planes closer to overlap in this one region. Grey Waste, Frostfell, Gehenna, the Kargnath, I don't know how to pronounce that, and the plain of Gehenna, parts of the Shadowfell. This is a pocket dimension of her own. So this is a plot thread. This is actually a secret. The players haven't found it out yet, but so I list the plot threads up here. I list a strong start, and a strong start is supposed to be a way that roots the players right into the game. Now that might be some action that kicks things off. Maybe the fireball, maybe the fight, an ambush. Those are great ways to create a strong start that root everybody in the session. That gets monotonous if you do it every session, but something else like flavorful, something interesting and surprising to discover. So my strong start is going to be at Mammoth Falls. The setup of the Prism of Saloon. And again, this is just a magical MacGuffin. The players have not seen the below ground area yet for Mammoth Falls. So what they're going to have is there's a nice role playing moment. One of the characters is going to have. She's going to take her Oath of Devotion. She's an Oath of Devotion paladin, and she's going to attune to an old artifact they recovered last session. That's a part of her family that she has to take a family oath with. So she's going to kick that off. But the players know this above ground area. They're going to go below and see these sort of caverns. So I want to give them this wonder of this Luxodon will install in a ceiling area this magical device that they install the crystal in, and it sheds light out on all the pools will glow, and they'll see all this activity in the pools where these fish begin to swim, and they begin to sort of just get larger in front of their eyes. And he has a device that he can open up, and this falls come out because there's a falls emerging from a cliff face there by a hill, and the knucklehead trout will just flow out into the lake that they're at, and so they'll know they're feeding the town. So that's going to be sort of the kickoff, and it's a flavorful period. It'll give them a feeling of accomplishment. It's got to be a month and a half ago in real life, maybe 4 sessions ago. They set out for Mammoth Falls to recover this Prism of Saloon, and now they're returning it. So that'll be a great way to start out to the session, and also some role play and Oath of Devotion by the Paladin. So that'll be a great bit of role play. The mage will get to scribe some scrolls, because that's something I would love to hear from you. I have this problem in my D&D game. I know that might be a little hard to see, but really what I'm trying to do is I keep a Google Calendar of a Forgotten Realms calendar. It's simplified so I can make it a little bit more consistent. Getting a drink of water here. By the way, I'm using my World's OKest DM mug today. I like coffee mugs. As you can see, I've run since September. Players are about to hit 4th level, and in game, only about a month and a few days have passed. So I think we're going to blow through at least a week, maybe 2 weeks here, and get them. So about a month and a half will have passed, but we'll have to see where the players are. So I have this compacted thing. Even I bet you maybe not more than 4 months will have passed in game by the time the players get done with this whole module, and they'll be 7th, 8th, or 9th level. It's going to be a little weird, but that's fine. That's D&D, man. All right. So anyway, they're going to take some time. They're going to scribe some scrolls. They're going to prepare their spells. And in the meantime, the world is going to continue onward, right? So I write down potential scenes. I really don't have a whole lot more to put down here. On the castle, let me write this down. All right, So in East Haven, I have a couple things going on, so they can either hear news, or if they choose to go to that place, I have something in mind that might be happening there. That's one of the I run a sort of a hybrid. They get a lot of indicator where they should go, but I run a sandbox game. In other words, if the players want to go somewhere, they can go there, and I'll hopefully come up with some plot that's happening there. But to do that, to give myself a sort of a seed of what's happening, I have a bunch of different adventures that are happening in the module itself, so I can resort to that if I have to. I have I also have a list of potential scenes and events that are happening around Icewind Dale. So if they were to go back, if they retroactively said no, we didn't want to leave East Haven, we wanted to stay, there and do something else, like. So it's like I'm just writing what would happen there. A caravan, I said earlier, one of their legitimate supply lines are being attacked. So I'd have a caravan. I'd raise the stakes, right? If they stay in one place too long, I want to raise the stakes to let them know things are progressing without their intervention. So a caravan coming in with wounded people without supplies, ratchet up the tension. I also have a few wagons from the Underdark coming in with supplies from the Chartland Syndicate. Now, when I say from the Underdark, that's they've a couple of sessions ago, they ran across just these supply wagons that are showing up that no one questions because they need supplies, but the players are like, wait, where'd that come from? And I've given them some clues with investigation about scratch marks on the side of the wagon or the wheels that make it look like it's come through stone that's typically underground. So they uncovered the plot that these wagons are coming through the Underdark. And so they don't know how or why. That's what they'll uncover in this encounter. But if they stay in East Haven, they'll find a few more. So ratchet up the thing that their supply lines are getting disrupted, and ratchet in that the bad guys are able to sort of undermine the authority of the town by bringing in their own supplies. I don't think they'll stay there, but they'll probably do. If they go to Share Dinaval, which I think they'll do, I'll have them encounter a Heart of Winter supernatural region, a watered down one. I don't want to blast them with something. By the way. So not only do I want to have them encounter that, I want them to realize that there's a method to this madness, that the bad guys, let's go over to Dinaval. This is only happening in this town proper. It's not happening at the castle when they go in. So, and they'll find out once they get to the bottom of this castle. By the way, there's a castle map for it here. When they get to the bottom of this castle, there's a whole shrine to this demon prince set up down here. And that's what's basically the other way that players can find out they can make themselves immune to this is by making a deal with the devil. Now, I don't intend for the players to make that deal, but that's up to the players. But that's not the characters they're playing. But that lets them know that there's a pathway for the bad guys to get around this as well. It's not all just if you're a good person you get out of it. There's a reason why people might turn to dark forces that's self-interest oriented and things like that. So I want to add here attack on the castle. The castle is exempt from, I spelled that wrong, from the region because of sacrifices to Devil Prince. Sacrifices to Devil Prince. I love using devils for things like that, by the way, because they're horribly, demons and devils. Demons just are chaotic. They kill everything, eat everything, consume everything. They are a certain type of terror, right? When you want that supernatural, natural disaster feeling, right? That it's a force that can't be stopped. Hey, Nikki, how are you? Hey, Farad, it's good to see you too. It's great. Thank you very much for coming here today. I'm talking about constructing a supernatural region that came out of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I don't know when you got here, by the way. I don't know. My Streamlabs viewers count does not give me an accurate count, so I never know who's here and who's not. I'm good. I've got a great session coming up. It's up on my blog. I was mentioned earlier. You can find this supernatural region called the Heart of Winter that I use in my Rime of the Frostmaiden campaign. I created this based on supernatural regions out of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I won't do the whole thing again, but just take a look if you think it's interesting to you. Ferret, if you do world building, you might enjoy this. So the plot line there is Oriel. I've given some flavor to my campaign of why Oriel is doing what she did. This is mine, not the module, but she's trying to create a pocket dimension of her own by having a conjunction of planes here and bringing them together. So I'm trying to ratchet up these magical natural disasters that happen. So the players are going to go unravel this mystery of the Arcane Brotherhood, and they're going to realize that this is the linchpin to unraveling the political intrigue that's happening in the area. So they're going to go to this castle. It's in this region called Sheridinival. So they're going to realize. So that demon devil thing. Why I like demons are great when you want to, as a game master, when you want to create a force of nature, evil kind of plot. Like there's nothing that can stop them. They're just a manifestation of evil. It's this horror that's akin to a natural disaster. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It just rolls over people. Devils are a great narrative tool for game masters who want to create this sinister, undermining, almost like a express the danger and the potential evil of the gray area, right? Because devils don't come at you with just wanton destruction. Devils come at you in an almost more terrifying way, right? They want you to undermine yourself. They want you to be corrupted from the inside. So it's almost that Tantrayana Sutrayana, right? Do you start on the outside and come inward, or do you start on the inside and go outward? Devils start on the inside, and they want you to be corrupted from the inward out. And so they make deals with you. They give you things that you could use. They corrupt you over time. They give you this illusion that you can manage this when you can't. And it's that terror of addiction or degrading life or age or any of those things that spark terror in human beings. That's where the devils represent. So what the devils have done is the Arcane Brotherhood has come in here. One of them have the subplot of that, by the way, is all the Arcane Brotherhood hates each other, so you can actually use them against each other. But one of those members, albino tiefling with some gargoyle companions, has basically seized this castle. She's cut a deal with the Devil Prince. The Devil Prince has some cultists that worship them, so they're serving this Arcane Brotherhood member, and they've taken over this castle. They've locked up the speaker, who hasn't showed up in council in several months. And so what the players have to do is they have to find out, why is this town gone silent? They'll go to this castle. They'll discover that there's something going on in the castle. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they'll talk to people in the town. Maybe they'll invade it. Maybe they'll sneak in. Maybe they'll do a frontal assault. I hope not, but I have no idea is the end result. But that's what this adventure is going to be around. So they're going to get there. They're going to realize that the town is not living up to its obligation for sacrifice, that the Heart of Winter Zone is happening here, and that they might choose to attack the castle, invade the castle. I have no idea. So that's a potential scene. Over in Targos, the Chartland Syndicate is doing their thing. They're plotting to steal the Cauldron of Plenty. They're meeting to have a thing. Over in Mammoth Falls, Oath of Devotion. I've already covered this. So secret and information. This is a great technique. By the way, this is the technique from Return to Lazy Dungeon Master. It's Sly Flourish published that book. I suggest it's a great book. What they do is to create a semi-sandbox game, don't say the players must go from A to B. Say what's happening at A, B, C, D, E, and let the story organically unfold. So down in Targos, the Chartland Syndicate, that's CS, is meeting in the next week to plan a heist of the Cauldron of Plenty. That's it. There's also in Bryn Shander. Some of these are notes from last session. I have to actually edit them out because some of them aren't relevant anymore. There's a meeting of the Speakers Council is called to discuss the Cauldron after the new moon. So they have to get through this new moon period, which is about a week and a half. So Sheridinival, I have a bunch of secrets here. This is from last session. What can the players find out? That's another technique that I think you might find valuable. Secrets and clues, right? Investigation style of role-playing or games. My method is always to have a critical path. In other words, to get the players from to point A to point B, they need these 1, 2, 3 pieces of information. I never gate that behind roles. As long as the players do something, they will get that information. So they have the minimum information they need to get from A to B. The rest, though, because I want to provide opportunities to make them active in their pursuits of investigation, give them a reason to role play. I have all this value added information that can be that can come in as part of that technique. So they are going to minimum information. That's what I have here. They're working. The Arcane Brotherhood is working with the Chudderland Syndicate. They're at shared Dinnerval. That information has come out. The players have that. They're drawing on magical power from within Mind Flayer artifacts, and are looking for a crashed Mind Flayer ship. All that information came out last session. The players know it. I don't need to do any more of that. So added value information is the only thing I'm going to leave here. They know they're looking for Cytolene crystals. If you're looking for a write-up for that, I will post it to my blog. I posted it to Twitter a while back. Actually, I'll bring this. Hopefully this window is visible to you. Sorry, I got a lot of things open here. But earlier in the week, I post a lot of things to Twitter. Not everything in Twitter makes it to the blog. I want to do a little bit more in-depth write-up. Here we go. I need a magical MacGuffin. Yeah, this is it here. So I wrote a whole crystal thing up here for, you can find it on Twitter, but go ahead and give it a peek if you're looking for it. Heidinger Laura, Lord Barian, on Twitter gave me the inspiration for it. So thank you very much to her. But it was a great magical MacGuffin that it's like a way to evilly make magic items by sacrificing people and torturing people. The players want the Arcane Brotherhood to not get it and get it out of their hands. So that's the driver there. But anyway, the Arcane Brotherhood, the value add information they can find. Arcane Brotherhood have an alliance with the Knights of the Black Sword at the castle, whom one of the cult they cut a deal with a devil to gain their allegiance. So that's some of that. There's one member of the Arcane Brotherhood at the castle. I should also add all the members. None of the members of the Arcane Brotherhood get along. Not all are straight up evil. So they're like morally gray at best and straight up evil at worst. The other thing, Knights of the Black Sword are with the Arcane Brotherhood because they're willing to summon devils into Icewind Dale. So that probably gives me on Shared Dinnerval, I want them to encounter something on the outskirts of the town that let them know there's some reason for these things to be here. So an ice method sounds pretty good. I put in ice methods before, so I'm going to look up traps here, but I don't need this. So D&D Beyond, help me. If anyone has a suggestion for an ice devil or like a simple one that's good for a CR3 creature, or CR3 party, I would love to get that suggestion. But ice method, are they devil? Submariner variant, monsters, ice, small elemental. Yeah, I could still have them show up. I want a devil though. I don't want to. So let's go over to monsters and see if I can find something. Again, if anybody has a suggestion, I want an ice devil that lets them know someone's summoning devils here or demons. So and let's go to a. Is devil separate here? No, where are we at? Giant fiend. There we go. Scene celestial construct. See, we have a abyssal chicken. I want a devil, not a. There we go. I want devils. Okay. Filter down by type. Do I have a type filter? No, movement type. That's not monster type. Well. See if I can do tag. That's fine. I'll just look. So devil, fiend. No, they're terrible. Imp, no. Imp variant, no. Fiend, spined devil. Ooh, CR2. That could be good. They're starting to get rough here. Do I want a spine devil or variant? Ooh, this is an even better idea. Wouldn't it be cool if I had a spine, like some sort of devil sitting there that. Again, demons just attack you mindlessly, right? But devils always want to undermine you. So maybe they'll do like a riddle with the players or puzzle or something like that as they come down to the road. That would be super cool. But let me see what their damage immunities are: fire and poison. I basically reskin this, which is what I think I'll do. I'll create a reskinned Spine Devil for encounter on the road. So potential scenes in encounter. Encounter on the road. I don't want to call them Spine Devil. What would they be? Be like Icicle Devil or something like that. Like an ice pick devil. I don't know. Iced Spine Devil, like in a cafe macchiato. Spined Devil. That ask riddles. That would be great. Like emerging from the stone, it's sitting on a rock above them, maybe two, and hail traveler. It will talk to them. It will taunt them. It'll ask what does it want though? So spine. That's a secret I could add. Sure, dinner ball. Spine devils. Devils are loose along the road. Waylaying travelers. And maybe I should tease this. They should, before they get there, players, some folks tried to get out of town. Some folks from Shared Dinnerball tried to get out of town. Again, foreshadowing. I work backwards. I get an encounter and I start working backwards. Can I foreshadow to the characters there's something going on here? Then I what that does for you is not just teases the plot, but it set the stakes. If they find some frozen, some people terrified and frozen in the snow with like puncture wounds. There's an old mystery about stabbing someone with an icicle and you can't find the weapon because it melted. That will be like what it is. Some folks try to get out of town with, and I hate to do this, but let me say it's families to set the stakes. Some families, I want to say children because I can never bring myself to have harm to children, but tried to get, are dead in the snow, killed by the Spine Devils, SD, puncture wound, no weapons, melted ice instead. So the Spine Devils will sit up on some rocks, taunt them, ask them some riddles that they can't solve, ask them to sacrifice somebody. Ooh, that'll be good. Ask players to sacrifice someone, make them run out in the snow. They'll agree, and we'll chase them, and we'll let you go. That'll be it. Like, oh no, we only wanted one of you. We want to taste your fear. That all of you need not die. Send one of you into the waste, and we will chase them, and you can go free. That'll be like of course the players won't do it, but it'll set the stage for what these devils are doing, like how nasty they are. Ask players to sacrifice someone. They will chase them and let the players go. Because the devils don't know this is a balanced encounter for the party, and that the players will basically slaughter them. So they have to act appropriately. So yeah, that's great. I like that. So the pathway so far is the players are headed to Shared Dinnerball to uncover the mystery. They're gonna do some role playing at the Mammoth Falls. They're gonna do a lot of overland travel. This is a great reason too, by the way, to have these potential scenes. If you look at the map, they're coming from here. One of the elements of Rime, and they're going like 27 miles. This is Foundry VTT, by the way. They're coming, oops, that's not what I meant to do. Sorry, buddy. So they're coming from here. They're going to go basically down to here, and over to here, over to there. So they have to go by all these towns. They could stop at any one of them and uncover these plots. So by the time they get over here, they're at 28 miles. That's 29, almost 30 miles. And one of the aspects of the module is travel is very slow. They go about a mile an hour, 2 miles an hour on road. So that's that's crazy. That's like 4 days travel in Icewind Dale. It would be a single day if this was Lost Mines of Phandalin, or maybe a little over. But exhaustion, travel, things like that play a big role. So, and maybe they'll come up with some other pathway to travel. But even if they went, even if they could learn to fly, it's still 20 miles as the crow flies. So yeah, it's going to be quite a few days. Anyway, so the purpose of what I just said is they have potential to go through 5 or 6 towns. what will they do? I can get. I don't want to overload them with information because it's been distracted. So I have like 4 or 5 towns, things that are happening there, things they can encounter. That's good enough. So Sheriff Denival, spiked Spine Devils are along the road. The Arcane Brotherhood. Let's see. I want to trap. The AB have trapped. No, I don't want to trap. I want something. So I want something. I want something threatening. So they'll get into the town. The townies have begun huddled together and are terrified of leaving their house. The manifest zone, the little supernatural region, the supernatural only started appearing again this month, we'll say. They couldn't sacrifice. So yeah, I mean, I want the stakes for the town itself. One of the problems with stakes in towns is I had this bad problem last campaign. The players always ask the town to get involved. And it's reasonable. I mean, you can always roll. There are probably a few people willing to step up and fight for their home. The problem is that they die. The players get people killed all the time. And I really didn't like that. I mean, the players were just using townies like fodder. And although I'm not playing with some of those players anymore, I don't like that as a game master. That's not very interesting to me. I mean, just slaughtering people. I don't like telling like weird power trip stories. So I want to keep the players from tapping them too much. But, I know what I'll say. So most of the fighting men, not men, it's men or women, most of the fighting capable townies are held hostage in the castle. That's a secret. They started arresting them, and they started disappearing in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. Yeah, so that's what we'll do. So there's, I hate to do too much to women and children and, old men and old people, but that's what they'll have to see. There has to be like a desperate town. So I haven't leaned into that yet. So I'll do it this once and it's fine enough. One of the players is from the town just up the road. So they might even call for help. It should be fine. If the players want to run a sort of a fight scenario, I'm down with that. Maybe that's worth covering here. We got 10 minutes left. So how do I do war scenarios? Actually, it's quick, so I'll do this. When I run war scenarios, I don't do a lot of them. I just run it as a scaled up version of a battle map. So I might do something like go over to Shared Denval itself. The players are kind of a separate thing, but if you want to find out how the battle goes, I usually just narratively say, this is how it's going to work out, or mostly I say it's basically even odds. If the players come up with a good enough plan, I give them that just might work. I give them that, right? And then I say, but if for it to work, you have to do X, Y, or Z, right? So give them a personal mission. I'm not going to role play out every fight. I'm not going to do anything like that. But if I ever do that, I just use a single type of mob to represent a whole group of them. So if I have like a squad or a platoon or whatever the size is of goblin fighters, I put out a single goblin and I have that fight like a single veteran unit and say that like every hit point is one person and just run it like that. Those are the roots of D&D. It's surprisingly easy to do, to be honest. If you want even if you want something like a catapult against castle walls, just scale it up. A catapult is the equivalent of a longbow. It has a ranger unit that fires a longbow, and you're running the equivalent of damage in the DMG to objects. And so you run like an equivalent AC. Now, an individual character couldn't do it, but this whole unit might be able to. And I just run it like that. It's always run good enough for me. I don't think you need complex war rules. But honestly, I almost never do that. I just go ahead and just run it narratively and give the players something that victory or defeat hinges on, and let them run that in a hyper local area. All right, so let me go back to my secrets and clues here because I need one more thing. What I've got is the players will get to this town. They'll encounter something along the road, that spine demon that gives them a small encounter, let them know there's something serious business going on here. And it tells them that the town is cut off. It tells them people can't just come and go. They'll get up here, they'll discover the town, people huddled together. It's a desperate situation. They know something's going on at the keep. Maybe they'll go up and try to negotiate. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do if that happens, but the probably I don't want to be overly smart because I could do that as a game master. If I was the NPCs, which is I try to think, I would tell the players, sure, we'll negotiate, come on in. And when they get over into this keep, in this little area, this courtyard area here, I just have everybody fill them full of arrows, right? But that's a little hard. One, I don't want to run a combat with everybody in the castle all at once, and two, I don't want to kill the players, right? So I want to give them something else to do. So I'm going to let the players feel like they can sneak in. I want to give them something some reason to believe that they can sneak in. On the scenes, shared interval, a blizzard befalls the town just as the players arrive. So there's nobody out on the walls of the castle. Everyone's sort of hunkered up. It's hard for them in the castle to see because they're cultists, but they are people. It'll give the players this feeling like, hey, I can get into this castle if I want. And it'll make it so that the blizzard means missile weapons won't fly. So the bad guys can't just get up on the walls and shoot the players dead with their longbows. So what will happen instead is even if the players insist on going in and talking, they'll basically be told to go away. And a fight will break out maybe, and I'll have to figure it out from there. But I hope they don't take that. I hope they take the sneak in part. So what's the MacGuffin here? So what's the climax? I know I'm in the last sort of 8 minutes or so. I can write this after the fact because I always view my own video to critique myself. All right, so I've got. By the way, as you see here, I love this ability here in virtual tabletops. There's only a few things I like about virtual tabletops, but this is one of them that I can lay out the entire map and see everything that's on the map all at once. Yeah, go away, Nikki says, do not stab. Yeah, I think that's what could happen. So the ultimate here of what they have to uncover. The Speaker of the Council is being held prisoner. There's a member of the Arcane Brotherhood. Now, the Arcane Brotherhood member actually doesn't care about any of this crap. They're just doing this to agree so they can get a base of operations to look for their additional magic weapons. If this thing goes south, they're not staying and fighting it out with the players. They can teleport, which is a good thing for the players because they can just this person's like a CR8 or CR9 creature, but the NPCs are not aware of CRs, right? So they're just going to be like, well, screw this. This is going poorly. I'm out of here. I'm going to go to my other base of operation and they'll encounter them later. So they're going to abandon these cultists and leave them. So there's a town speaker that's here that they can free. Down in the basement is where the really sinister stuff happens. There's some prisoners that are kept here, some bodies of people that were executed. And I'm changing this here. So you'll see this sort of lake area. It's supposed to be a cistern that for some reason has a boat. This is what I'm going to say is how the Charlton Syndicate is getting supplies from the Underdark. There's a magical barrier. I'm going to say I'm not going to be able to draw it out, but I'll say that this is basically an underground river that goes into the Underdark. That the players are that the Arcane Brotherhood seized it. They've lowered the level of this river somehow, maybe redirected it upstream, and so because of that, they're able to bring the Duergar are able to bring in boatloads of supply into this river. That's how they're getting into the region. So and there's a shrine down here to this devil. So ultimately, what the players can do, they'll free the town by destroying this shrine, and maybe there'll be some more devils in there they'll throw in for a fight. And if they shut down this river, they shut down the supply lines for the Duergar that are bringing in supplies to undermine the town's council. So that's the ultimate outcome of this. So where the players, and at the end of it, the players pop up to 4th level. So the section of 1 to 3 the transition of 2 to 3 I ran as a big milestone for them. They uncovered this murderer that was killing people in the town, and they felt very powerful. So this will be the next 3 to 4 will be this next great transition where the narratively they will have basically set the supply so the towns can eke through in this disaster and basically make it through without dying, and they'll feel there's some breathing room, and they'll feel they've opened this world of this greater regional conspiracy. So that's what this all is going to do. And yeah, so tools for your game. Check out my blog. Check out the factions that I've put down here. Check out the Duragar. I've reworked the base travel rules. They're actually more permissive, believe it or not. You can see up here 1 mile per hour is the travel rate. That's actually higher than you get in the module. So even this like 4 or 5 days to get 20-25 miles, that's over and above what you normally get in the module. Sacrifice to store real. I have a little bit more flavor that's added there. I have NPCs. All this stuff is available. The Heart of Winter region. By the way, when you look at this, tweak it to your need. There's some stuff here you don't want to just throw out of players. Yeah, any humanoid that dies rises a cold light walker in 2d4 minutes. Ice 1d10 ice methods appear. All kinds of stuff. You know, just sort of noodle it. Turn that dial for your individual player party. But at the core, I think this is useful. I think you can do something with that. All right, so that's going to wrap up today. I really appreciate you showing. I think I have a pretty good adventure here. The players are going to come out of the role-playing challenge here. They're going to take some O's. They're going to travel over land, maybe discover some of what's going on at the rest of the parties. They're going to encounter a devil right at the entrance to this town, realize that the stakes are pretty high here, encounter some desperate people they know they need to free, and that's going to be a metaphor for the entire region. They're going to break the hold, hopefully, of the Arcane Brotherhood, and sort of and get rid of this the supply line that the bad guys on the political side of the spectrum have been using to undermine the good guys on the good political end of the spectrum. And that's going to be their adventure. That'll be great. That's probably going to take 3 or so sessions to work through, maybe 2. But we'll see. I feel like that's comfortable. That's a nice set of adventures. So yeah, that's it. I hope you'll check out my blog at optionalrule.com. I hope you join me on Instagram, on Twitter, on Twitch, which is I'm streaming now, on YouTube. I don't know if which one you're catching it on, but I hope you found this enjoyable. Thank you very much for joining me this week. As always, it's been great. Leave like, subscribe, follow, do all the social media things. And it would really help me out if you found this interesting. Share to social media some of any blog entries that you find interesting. Go ahead and share this show once it's up on the archive if you're seeing it later. Comment down on the tavern wall. Drop me a note on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube. Any of those things, I always try to reply. Thank you very much, Nikki. I hope you have a great day too. Thank you very much for joining me today. I really hope you're having a great game. You'll get out there. You'll run some D&D. You will find your voice as a player and a game master. I appreciate it. In the meantime, remember, fun is not optional. Thank you, everybody. You take care. I'll see you next week.